So one story I didn't get to tell in the last podcast. I only had one thing I had to do. We were doing podcasts the day of the wedding, and so they were all getting stuff ready and prepped and all that stuff. And so I had one job to go by. We were serving tea at the wedding, and we were having to get 20 gallons. Normally I would make my own tea, but we had too many people for that. So McAllister's has really good tea. I mean, if I'm gonna buy tea in town, that's typically where I would go. So I told Lisa, so I'll order it and I'll pick it up on my way out. So I stopped by our local McAllister's and I go in and said, all right, I'm here for the tea for a wedding. And I got my suit on. I mean, I'm ready to go preach. I'm on my way to the wedding. And she said, okay, 20 cups of tea. I said, 20 cups of tea? And she said, yep, that's what I got you here for. And I was like, I was told to pick up 20 gallons of tea. And she said, well, I'm looking at the order here. It's 20 cups of tea. And I was like, we're going to have a lot of thirsty people. I said, we got 175 people. And she said, let me check. And I said, do you have that much? Can you make me some tea? I said, because literally I'm an hour and a half away here. And she said, oh, no, we made it. But it's just rung up as 20 cups. I said, okay. I said, but you have the tea. She said, oh, yeah, I see it now. It's back in the walk-in. I was like, okay, so good. And she said, so 20 cups of tea, right? I was like, nope, I'm going to need those 20 gallons. So what happened was the computer had it wrong, but she was having a problem making the link because she was like, what do I do? I said, tell you what. I said, are you telling me that we're just undercharged in your system here? That's what it is. I said, then just ring me up 20 gallons and I'll pay you for it. I'll pay you for the rest of it. She said, okay, I got it. But it was so funny having to walk her through this process. I thought, as I usually do when I go into some place to buy stuff now, is that people just have a hard time connecting.
I thought you were going down a road of where somehow we were going to get 20 gallons of water changed into tea.
Which would have been a John too.
That's a lot of tea.
Well, it was funny. So two girls start bringing out. They had like 2 gallons each, and they go to hand them to me. I said, could you guys load them in the car? Because I'm like ready to go to the. Could y'all do that for me? I said, I'll make it worth your while. So then they're hauling tea out to my car, and we wound up with 20 gallons of tea. But
it's so funny you bring that up because we're such tea snobs. I mean, so Missy, she'll want to go somewhere, and I'll say, how is their tea? She's like, I don't know. I was like, well, that matters.
It matters a lot.
Because there's very few places you're at, because it's all about the water, whatever water.
You got to have good tea. You got to have good water. In fact, we just did on our last cooking episode that appears on Blaze TV. You got to subscribe to Blaze to get it. We did a whole segment on tea because tea is such a big deal. So we had a blind taste test with Si, Dad, and Mom as to who made the best tea. So you'll have to check that out on the Cooking with the Robertsons.
But surprisingly, McAllister's, Chick-fil-A, and the airlines, if you ask for a black tea, which I guess I'm the only person in society who does it.
I do it too.
Well, I'll say I want black tea with a cup of ice.
Yeah, bring me ice though.
And so they stop and they're like, what do you mean? I was like, I want a black tea, and I'm going to pour that over ice. And she's like, so you want an iced tea? I was like, yeah, but I was just letting you know.
Because you don't want to bring some out in a bottle of iced tea. That's no good.
Exactly. Right. And so I'm making my own, and it's always good.
It's good. Yeah, because they brew it. It's all about the brew. So Melissa came over, speaking of tea, yesterday, and she's right in with the tea snob with us.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's strong in her. And so somebody said, I was making tea. And they were like, why are you making this tea? Because of those 20 gallons of McAllister's tea, I had about 4 gallons left. So I was giving that to the kids because that's day-old tea now, which I don't drink that old tea. And so I'm making some fresh for me and Melissa. And they were like, why are you making fresh tea? I was like, well, I've got my cousin here. We're not gonna serve that day-old McAllister. Are you kidding me? That's only fresh.
It's a dangerous addiction you guys have. I remember when I ran for Congress, I asked Willie to introduce me to some of his money friends, and because I was raising money for the campaign, and he said, "Yeah, come over. I'm going to take you out to meet somebody. Be at my house at 5:00 or whatever it was." I get there, and probably within an hour before me getting to his house, he was making tea, and he had the glass container right there on the side of the counter, and he pours the boiling water in the glass container into where the tea bags were at, and it exploded.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
So the boiling water hits his legs, and I mean, it is like it's bubbled up. 4 inches above the shin bone was a blister about 4 inches high.
Oh, it was a bad burn.
Oh, it was horrible. And I was like, "Are you still want to go?" He goes, "No, we'll go." I said, "I don't know, dude." And so he was in pretty bad shape. So
can you imagine that? You go to the ER and they're like, "What happened?" He's like, "I was making some tea."
It's a tea accident.
I never heard of that.
We all learned a valuable lesson that day. Don't put boiling water in a glass jug.
I mean,
That's
it was
a
bad.
DED.
I've never seen. I mean, it was.
I remember when that happened. I mean, he had third-degree burns. Yeah,
I'm surprised that he continued with the trip. We drove out to Ala, and we were out there all night, till late at night, and
so he was still raising money for you, Zach, even with third-degree burns. What a cousin!
And I'm going to push back about you saying that's an addiction or what. If tea is bad for you, I give you exhibit Uncle Si. Evidently, it's not that bad for you because he has defied most laws of nature with staying alive as long as he has.
Well, he told
he drinks a gallon a day.
When we appeared, 2 gallons. We appeared on Dr. Oz together as a family back when the show was going on. Dr. Oz said, "Who do you think in your family has the healthiest liver?" And somebody jokingly said, "Well, we know it's not Si." And he was like, "Wrong. Because tea is a great diuretic for your liver." He said, "Uncle Si drinking that tea has the healthiest liver."
We need to get on some of that tea. Well, you drink a lot of tea.
I drink a lot of tea.
I drink tea. Yeah, I love tea.
But you had bad liver enzymes, though.
I make it and
it's
drink
because
it
I'm
every day.
fat, Zach.
Me too. And I love making it. I like hearing the gurgle sound.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, they have tea makers.
Do you know now, though, that Mr. Coffee has quit making tea makers? I don't know what's going to happen when this last one goes out. We're just going to have to go back to boiling on the stove, I guess.
Yeah, there's always a way. I have connections. I know people.
Well, let me know.
Yeah, there's a warehouse somewhere with 1984 NIVs and Mr. Coffee tea makers. So.
By the way, Zach brought it up because I get every other week I get an email asking what Bible you use. It's the 1984 NIV. But quit looking for it because it's not out there.
Looking for it because I've said I don't think it's the greatest translation. I mean, a lot of things I think they get
the
wrong.
84 is better than the 2011 or whatever the newest one is, but you're right. There's some issues. I've started following Zach's lead and going with the
It's
ESV.
Nothing major. That's why I did the little Greek.
But we've
lexicon.
memorized all our Bible verses in
Yeah.
this version. That's the problem. So
that is a problem.
It doesn't sound quite right to me otherwise. So